best bets on a Sunday. Took the rare Saturday off, but don't worry, Matthew is dialed in for a spinny Sunday. I didn't want to quite cross that bridge, but hey, it's okay. We are the Three Man Weave. We're live on the Field of 68's YouTube channel. And of course, a shout out to our sponsors, BetRivers. If you haven't yet, use your 4-leg parlay boost to get 20% boosted on a college hoops parlay. That goes until at least the new year. So if you don't like it today, maybe you'll like it sometime this week. Make sure you're using that though. All right, boys. It's a big Sunday slate. It's Championship Sunday in Portland. Kai, you're out there. You're going to be live for some big time matchups. But do you have any takeaways from yesterday or Friday? I'll start with you, Mr. McEwen.
No, Jim, I don't. I had a nice day off here in Portland from basketball. It was wonderful. I've seen so many games this weekend, which has been great. But luckily, I got to explore the town of Portland a little bit more. Had some fun. So, no, I have no takeaways from basketball, Jim. I'm hoping to see a lot of good stuff today, though.
Love it. Matthew, what about you?
I have one takeaway. James Madison. I think we've mentioned him 20 times on this show. I'll make it the 21st. Another dominating performance from the Dukes, beating the Jack Bunnies by 19 was the final. I mean, save 8 minutes against UNC. That team has been nothing short of immaculate. I'll continue to highlight under the radar, but now not so under the radar mid-majors in this segment of the show.
Yeah, Matt, you are not the only one. They've been bet from 10.5 to 15 today. Point
Insane.
Favorites over Valparaiso. People are in on the Dukes. My takeaway is TCU. What are you? What are you? I don't know. You lost at home to Northwestern State, but thoroughly dominated Iowa. They were up like 15-19 in the second half at some point yesterday. Held them to 0.92 points per possession. That's really tough against that Iowa offense. Out-rebounded them 41-28. And that was with no Emmanuel Miller, no Damian Baugh. Like, this team is down 2 starters, and they're still, I don't know. Hard to figure out. Seems like the intensity, the defensive dominance is returning. So perhaps TCU is on the upswing. We're going to have to monitor that in the future. All right, let's get to today's slate because it is great. We'll start with the 2 championships out in Portland. The headliner, at least in my opinion, Kai, Duke versus Purdue. You saw Zach Edey just completely dominate the Gonzaga front line. Now he's got a Duke team that, you know, I was surprised that Sean Miller didn't bring any zone against them after Oregon State really frustrated Duke. And Matt Painter is like man-to-man only, 100%. So I doubt we see any zone here. Does that give the edge to Duke?
I don't know, man. Purdue was way more impressive in person. This team is really good. Zach Edey showed emotion for like the first time ever that I've seen when he finished an and one. But he's unstoppable. Duke has no answer for him. Ryan Young can't guard him. Derek Lively can't guard him. He just turns, shoots over his shoulder. It goes in. Being 7'4" is nice. And Purdue's point guard, Braden Smith, I'll continue to sing his praises the entire season. He's one of the best point guards in the country, and he's just a freshman. The guy does no wrong. He makes every single right pass, every single right shot, and he's just really, really tough. Already leads the team. Just impressive stuff. Matt, I like Purdue here against your Dukies. The line, unfortunately, did me no favors. The market, or at least the odds makers, open Purdue as a very short dog in this game. I just think Painter is a better coach than Shire at this point until proven otherwise. And I like the way Purdue's been playing better.
Yeah, I mean, I think Duke has more parts that are work in progress right now. So the money bet this up to Duke -2. I actually did lay 2 at Duke because I'm a homer and I'm just stubbornly convinced that John Shire is a nice basketball coach. And the Oregon effort was this weird intergalactic, didn't happen in this reality type of game. Came back with some fervor against Xavier. I just think the way to beat Duke is to take them out of what they do with some junky defenses, right? We saw Tinkle do that really well. Tinkle's known for that. You mentioned how Purdue is so devoutly man-to-man. They didn't deploy last game. I don't think they're going to deploy it this game. I think that could burn them. I think Edey will be exposed by Filipowski's ability to drive, kind of those mid-post, perimeter type drives. But yeah, Edey's going to have 30 and 20 if he really wants to. It's about how much he plays and how much they give him the ball. Jim, all that is to say the over, as I talk through this game, kind of sounds appealing. I think this is a highly efficient game.
Okay, I buy that. I didn't have a real strong total take, but yeah, I buy that perspective. Yeah, like if you're not zoning Duke, I don't really understand. Yesterday, Xavier gave up 11 threes and 43 twos to Duke. That's how you lose to them. What are you doing? Right. You need to force that team to the perimeter. And I don't know that Purdue's really going to do that. They might play more compact, but I think Duke can still succeeded against man-to-man. You put Edey in ball screens. He's been better moving and playing in some of the drop coverage stuff, but I still think Duke can take advantage of that. I hope we see some Filipowski at 5 lineups, Matt. I mean, he needs to avoid foul trouble against Edey, but I think stretching out Edey and the other end of the floor would really help your over and the Duke efficiency.
Yeah.
I do lean towards Duke here, surprisingly, but I just, like you said, if you're not going to take them out of what they do, it's kind of tough. One last note, I want to reiterate a Rob Doster Twitter note here. Somebody had said, like, I can't believe Matt Painter. I think it might have been Eli Hershkovich. Like, Matt Painter's outcoaching Mark Few. Can you believe this? Like, Matt Painter is awesome. He's like a top 15 coach in college basketball. That's not surprising at all.
Yeah, I can't believe it, actually.
Yeah, so I tip of the cap to Painter, and maybe he comes with a great plan here today against Duke. All right. The other championship, not who we expected to see in this title game, Iowa State and UConn. Man, so UConn opened almost a touchdown favorite. It's been bet down a little bit. People are respecting Iowa State. Kai, I'm going to you first because you're there again. Here's why people are respecting Iowa State. Under TJ Otzelberger, they are 18-1 against non-conference foes. They went to a Sweet 16 with him, and they have beaten Xavier, Memphis, Creighton, Iowa, LSU, Wisconsin, Villanova, North Carolina. 18-1 non-league team. Like, they're dominant. Are they going to be able to hang around here against a UConn team that has admittedly been super impressive? It's
crazy how well they've done so far. UConn, though, is the most impressive team I've seen here at PK85. They have no weaknesses. Donovan Clingan is way ahead of schedule. They're 7-2 backup center. He's like a good passer. He's dominant inside, and he just takes up a ton of space. And then Tristan Newton has been fantastic at point. Credit to him from East Carolina. Joey Calcaterra all of a sudden is awesome for them. It's just a really well-balanced team with a ton of size. And as good as Hassan Ward and Shun are, and even Robert Jones played well the other day, they just can't handle those two guys. Now, Matt, I'm not counting out Iowa State because they are scrappy in the non-con, as Jim mentioned. The spread is a little bit high, a little bit too much for me to lay with UConn, but this Husky team is the real deal. They're number 8 in KenPom right now. I believe it. I do think they're a top 10 team.
Yeah, I think I would play into a higher rating than they were last season, non-con. We talked about this, I think, last show where they beat Auburn. They were kind of like, they were on fire, and then some injuries sort of derailed them down the stretch. And then again, another situation where I think people put too much stock in the postseason shortcomings and maybe discount them this season. They've been awesome. Hawkins, and I always forget the other guard's name. Why can't
Andre Jackson? Yeah,
thank
you. The fourth
Jackson
show
Hawkins.
I had to bring up his
It's insane how bad I am at this. Okay, they have completely recalibrated that entire team. They actually have inside-out balance now. Just the way they attacked Bama shooting.
Jackson hasn't done like anything this year. It's been
it's more right. It's been by committee. Newton's been good, as Kai's mentioned. It's just a deeper, more talented team. And unless we have the Caleb Grill, shooting 8 of 12 from 3, I think Connecticut wins pretty easily here. So I know I'm probably not respecting Coach Oates and what they've done in the non-cons you guys talked about. I just think Connecticut's the better team, and I laid it at 5.5. It's up to 6. I'd still take it at 6.
Yeah, the last 2 years, there's been a team like the first 2 weeks of the season that has really popped for me, and I added a future on them. And 2 years ago, it was Michigan. They ended up getting a 1 seed, losing the Elite 8. Last year, it was Arizona, got a 1 seed, lost in Sweet 16. For me this year, it's UConn. It's just like, holy cow, this roster is as complete as you could want. Shooting, ball handling, size. They're top 25 on both ends of the court in 2-point percentage, offense and defense. Like, that's the most sustainable thing for me. Their size is immense, and Sonogo is a star. I tweeted a clip of his passing the other day. He hit Jordan Hawkins on a little dribble handoff, don't give it to him, then hit him on the back door over the top. That's ridiculous if Sonogo has that in his game. I thought it was a little high at open though. I did take some 6.5, but UConn is continuing to make me a believer, and I think they're about as as likely a team to skyrocket up rankings and be like a 1 or 2 seed and potentially win the Big East as anybody. It's quite a squad right now. We'll see how that one plays out.
We're getting some pushback in the chat. I think rightfully so. Why are people still fading Iowa State? Why are we still not believing Iowa State? Didn't we do this last year?
I just said I took Iowa State.
I know. I guess I'm talking to myself.
To be fair,
I'm looking in the mirror.
Iowa State was down 7 to UNC with 3 minutes to go.
Right.
And UNC was just stupid down the stretch, and Grill got impossibly hot for the first time all season. I love Iowa State, but UNC should have won that game. And I think UConn is a much more intelligent team right now than UNC.
UConn's got to handle the ball. Got to handle the
Yes.
ball because the ball
Cool.
pressure is real from Iowa State.
Mhm.
The freshman, Tamin Lipsey, has been awesome. Like, not
Yeah,
really a guy that's
Yeah,
on my
awesome
radar.
defender. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, next game, Kai, you just mentioned North Carolina. Perfect little segue here into Alabama, UNC. I think preseason, or at least people that weren't working with ratings, were more like subjective ranking type things, would be shocked to see Alabama favored here. But goodness, the way the two teams have played, I think it's totally rightfully so. UNC's defense, I've said it before in the show, off the ball is so lazy, Matthew. Like they just, you cut on them and they lose you completely. And against a team like Alabama that has offensive threats at every spot, that is bad news. I kind of lean towards Alabama here. I just don't want to back UNC with as erratic as they've been playing lately.
Yeah, everything for me screams Alabama. I've been looking to sell this UNC team, and I haven't done it this year as they've tumbled down KenPom, and I don't know what their current ATS record is, but it's unprofitable, I believe.
It's like 1-5 or 1-6.
1-5, I think. I've only covered once. And Bama's just been terrific. I mean, Brandon Miller takes them to a new level. I think they're deeper than we thought. Javon Quinerly, it's sort of a feast or famine thing, but I think they're kind of built to play without him right now. I'm not overly worried about that. Kai, my concern is the price. And I just can't get to a world where I'm emphatically confident that Alabama is better than UNC, despite all of UNC's flaws so far. I say it away, if you're sort of not buying into Matt's Bama hullabub that I've been spewing this whole time, and you think UNC is just basically playing with their food until they really need to turn it on, which they basically did yesterday until the final 3 minutes, I'd actually take UNC here, Kai. I think you agree with me. I don't think this price is off.
Yeah, I was surprised they opened as a dog, to be honest. I took them small at +2. I probably wouldn't take it past that because Alabama has looked better than them. Brandon Miller is a star. That guy's a top 10 pick. I'm not an NBA draft guru, but I'd want to draft him if I was an NBA team. I mean,
we did say the Holiday Inn Express last
he's
night.
incredible. Quinerly actually has looked pretty good. He's been spry. He hasn't been playing, obviously, starters minutes, but he's been really good for them. But UNC is still really talented, man. They can beat Alabama. They just need to come and play their game, and they haven't done that yet. We saw them kind of get scary against James Madison. I think against a team like Alabama, they have that motivation. You just can't really know what Caleb Love's going to do on any given night. He's definitely not an intelligent player. He makes really bad decisions down the stretch, and they stopped giving the ball to Baycott against Iowa State. I'm hoping Hubert Davis adjusts to that. I'm leaning towards UNC here, Jim. Oh, sorry. One more thing I want to get in here. Hubert Davis press conference after Iowa State game. He said, Iowa State played a 1-3-1. They've never done that before. That's categorically false. TJ Otzelberger always plays 1-3-1. So when Hubert said that was a little scary to me. That's probably a point in Alabama's favor.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards Bama. I like UNC caught lightning in a bottle for a couple weeks last year. And remember, they didn't even win the ACC tournament. Like they were kind of not great in that, but awesome run in the NCAA tournament. And like, that's the form that maybe is freshest in everyone's minds, but they can't access that consistently. It's clearly they're not able to. Like I thought neutral site tournament, national TV every game. Yeah, we're going to see it for sure. Did not see it against Portland. Definitely some ebbs and flows against Iowa State. I just think they don't really have that, especially the defensive intensity. It's not there for them. So I'm leaning towards Alabama. I didn't make the price right to take them, but I that would be the way I would go if I had to. All right, let's go to Gonzaga and Xavier, the other third place game here. Bulldogs, disappointing outing against Purdue, pretty much fully handled in that one. The defense still continues to have big time leaks. We're not totally confident in the guard play at this point, but no Adam Kunkel for Xavier. He's out due to concussion protocol. Xavier, again, mentioned like they kind of struggled defensively against Duke, and I could see them really struggling again here. Kai, one more PK 85 game for you. What are you looking at in Gonzaga versus Xavier? Gonzaga's like a touchdown favorite here.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much for me to lay right now. Xavier's looked really good. Zags obviously struggled against Duke, but without Adam Kunkel, I think Xavier's in trouble. He does a lot for that team. He's sneaky, very, very important for them. He's more than just a shooter. He can drive, he can defend. So without him against Gonzaga, off a loss, I'm a little bit scared for Xavier tonight. Nunji and Fremantle, Matt, they struggled against your Dukies. They're still a pretty good front court tandem. Colby Jones, I'm really impressed with. And the Zags are still good. They missed a lot of shots. They got outplayed by Purdue for sure. But this is still a really, really good team, still a top 10 team. I think they can win by more than 7. I'm just a little bit hesitant to lay it right now.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry to lay Gonzaga. like these sort of mid to large favorite spots against really competent teams. I just don't think this version of Gonzaga, both with the talent level they have relative to years past and the current point of the season, where I think they'll get better throughout the year. They're not quite a finished product right now. It's just a hesitation for me. I'm staying away. I have Gonzaga rated in the clouds because that's just kind of how I've been with Gonzaga the last few years. I'm probably a little stale with my rating on them. So I ignored it and I didn't play it. I was close to taking the Zags, so.
I thought about fading the Zags, honestly, but I don't think Xavier is going to be good enough at keeping them out of transition. They let Florida run a ton, and I kind of come back to it every time. If Gonzaga runs, they're dominant. But if they're forced to execute in the half court and defend teams in the half court, they're just not as good right now. They haven't figured that out. So staying away because I think Xavier won't be able to stop them from running. My number actually did tilt a little towards Xavier because I've knocked Gonzaga. I just don't think the defense is good. So I don't have the rating that high. All right, let's go to our first chat mob break. I know Mr. Matty Cox is my chat czar. So what do you got for me, baby?
Well, we talked about the Dukes on the onset. A few people asking about, do we just keep betting this team? Ted Spencer, do we lay the 14.5? Well, Ted, it's up to 15.5 right now. So the money continues to climb as we talk throughout the show. Leg Show Magazine, Kai asked, how about minus 8.5 first half? Any James Madison investments for you today?
Yeah, I took him at 12. I think they're going to smash Valpo.
Sharp.
I think 15.5 is ridiculous. I don't know if you can lay that. Valpo shouldn't be as bad as they have been this year, but they have been really bad. So I would say it's James Madison or nothing for me. I don't know why you'd want any piece of Valpo right now.
Right. I think that's also a key point to this handicap. Even if James Madison is like peaked, there's a good chance Valpo has not stopped bottoming out. They're a dysfunctional team right now.
Yeah, TBD.
Jim, Bernie Z. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bernie. Thoughts on Canisius? Little Buffalo showdown against the Buffalo Bulls.
Took a bad line here. I took Buffalo last night and it's gone down. So definitely happens. Not sharp. Very, very not sharp. I just don't think Canisius is very good. And I've been on Buffalo a few times this year and have gotten them right. Like they covered against Drake. They should have covered against UConn, but a late push was frustrating. They covered against Colgate. I think this team's solid. They're just completely turned over from last year and they're erratic because they're all about athleticism. They can out athlete Canisius. I lean towards Buffalo as the number has gone down.
Yeah, I've been on Canisius a few times, and I think I have 1 and 2. I don't know. Both teams are sort of mystery to me. Kai, Philly showdown from I don't have the initiator of this. I'm sorry to the person who sent this in, but Drexel +8 against Temple. It did seem high to me. The money's brought this down. It opened 10 down to 8. Thoughts?
I lean Temple. I still think Temple's awesome, but there's obviously no travel here for Drexel. The home court should be not that much in this handicap. And Temple's played poorly last couple of games, so I don't really trust them right now. So I stayed away.
Temple is a favorite,
Temple's favorite. Yeah, not a huge fan, especially almost a 10-point favorite. No thanks.
Jim Ryan A asked about Canisius Buffalo as well. We just talked about that. Stonehill UML, which is UMass Lowell, who is like the best low major in basketball right now. Every time I look at this team, they're up. They're 10-20 every game. It's insane.
I kind of like Stonehill though. They've been super feisty so far this year. They've got a lot of offensive potency. They're terrible on defense, but I think they can score enough to kind of keep up with Lowell and stay inside that number. I lean towards the Stonies.
I think Pat Duquette might be the best coach that no one knows about. Super underrated. He's been insane at that school, making the D1 transition. Kai, Noah V, who I can only assume is Noah Vonleh. Thank you for tuning in, Noah. Quinnipiac can't keep this up against Hofstra, he asked. And I'm like, I don't think they can either. But every time I say that Quinnipiac wins another game by 10+, you have an angle on this tilt.
I know Jim does.
Jim, to you. Oh, best bet holster. We're going to pocket it. Yep.
No, I'll
pause.
Sure. I've got another one later, so I'll holster that one. Hofstra -3.5 is the best bet for me. No one has made a 3 against Quinnipiac yet this year. Montana State was like 2 for 19 at one point yesterday. I just don't think they're that good. Hofstra is a much better shooting team. They got Estrada running the show. And my boy, German Plotnikov, coming off the bench, JUCO shooter. I think he's going to be a key piece here. I just think Hofstra is significantly better. They're not going to be phased by Quinnipiac zones. I love the pride in this one, Matthew.
I wanted to join you, Jim. I took a look at my guy, Lewis Courtwright, who I thought was going to be like a star 2 years ago. He's like now playing like a star for Quinnipiac. I think he actually might be a difference maker, but I wish you luck. I think you have the right side. Job Gunderson, Kai, UNC Wilmington, it's North Texas. It's a big number for the Mean Green to lay, but if Tyler Perry goes 10 of 10 from 3 again, like it seems like he does when he's on fire, as he was last game, maybe it's not.
Yeah, I mean, dating back to last year, I'm tired of fading Wilmington. I faded him with Vermont yesterday. Vermont gave up like an 18-1 run. So it's appearing that Wilmington still has that juice. So +9, that's too much for me. North Texas is a lot better at pairing lineup, obviously, but I'm not laying
Completely
it
changes
against
that
Wilmington.
team.
Yep.
Completely
They're
changes
like
that team.
weirdly good at covering these numbers despite playing super low possession games.
Yeah.
Like they just
And
beat you
Perry
by
is huge a
15.
part of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Gives you some offensive lift, a huge offensive lift. Joey S, I'm assuming America's team will get some mention today. We actually had not talked about America's team, aka Bellarmine. Jimmy takes on the Knights as they play UCLA. Kind of a tough spot there, man.
Tough travel, but man, I love them as a big dog because they shorten the game. Their possessions are so long. They're really frustrating to play against. They don't give you free points in transition because they take care of the ball. I would lean towards Bellarmine there, but you never know with UCLA at home, and that travel spot is tough. Probably really efficient in that game, despite slow.
Yeah,
I would
agree.
guess both offenses are efficient.
I agree. I have the exact same thought. If UCLA is going to cover that game, they're going to have to be really efficient in the half court. You cannot really run on Bellarmine. Kai, Daryl, I need you guys' opinion on a few underdogs. I'll throw a couple out there. Any takes? Siena, Prairie View A&M, Harvard. I think you would take. How about Harvard, Kai? What's your Crimson Tide take? Sorry, just Crimson take today.
I like Harvard. I think they're starting to play a little bit better. I think they're like 4.5 point dogs against Fordham. No disrespect to Fordham, but I think that's a lot of points. I think these teams are pretty even. I don't think there's much. I believe Fordham's at home. I wouldn't give too much home at Rose Hill Gymnasium. I like Harvard there.
Yeah, Kai, I've been against Fordham like 3 straight games in home because I give them like nothing for home, and Stonehill covered. Holy Cross barely didn't. I'm with you on Harvard.
Jim, last one. Oregon State was one he mentioned in his flurry of considerations.
Well, they're not a dog, but
yeah, right. So I think he was like, looking at Portland State, but then now it's up to -4.5 Oregon State.
Yeah, I kind of weird. Portland State at current number.
Yeah.
I'm still not super high on the Beavers. I think that was a little more aberrational, the Duke thing, than sustainable. I don't know.
If you look at Oregon State's resume so far, it's not as horrible as we think it is, other than the loss to Portland State. And so now you could argue this is maybe a revenge angle in the rematch there at the neutral site. But all right, that's all we got. Next stanza.
Right, back to the outline. We're going to another championship game. This is the ESPN Events Invitational, aka the Pyramid Scheme Classic in Orlando. Ole Miss and Oklahoma. Guys, I wrote this up for Action Network before the tournament, and I said bet Ole Miss as a future because I'm not scared of Florida State on their side of the bracket. I thought they would take care of Stanford. They did. So I'm sitting on a 7-1 Ole Miss future here. I'm just going to bet a little Oklahoma money line and take my free profit in that. But if I didn't have that, how should I bet this game? I know you have a strong take.
Land Shark again. I don't like double dipping in best bets in the same week. Actually, it's a new week now. It's Sunday. But yeah, I backed Land Shark to a profitable best bet winner last week. And I will be doing that today. +3 at BetRivers. I look at this game very simply. It's two teams that are defensive oriented right now, offensively challenged at times without a bona fide superstar on the offensive end. Very much an X and O chess match. I think it's a coin flip game. I'm getting 3 bonus points and what should play to like 120 point total. If you're seeing 2.5 out there, I would quote unquote buy the hook. Sorry guys. Matty Hooks has to make an appearance today.
Don't do that.
I think a half point, a low scoring game and a key number is worth a little more than usual.
Don't do that.
Don't do it. Either way, just back Ole Miss money line. I think they won today. Better team by a nose, catching 3 points they shouldn't be.
I think they're a better team also. Oklahoma's been, I guess, better than I thought. But Seton Hall is hard to figure out right now. And Ole Miss has done nothing wrong. So I'm surprised they're +3. I'll say that. I like the Rebels.
Yeah, I make this a pick, all things equal, but then Daishan Ruffin is still not playing. But does he matter? Because Amari Abram has been incredible, the freshman for the Rebels. He's been fantastic. And then defensively, Miles Burns, the NAIA transfer from Loyola New Orleans, has been so good. He is a terror on that end. So yeah, if I had not taken that Ole Miss future, I would probably just bet Ole Miss here. But I like free money, so I'm going to actually take it when it's literally free money. Can't lose. Then I'm gonna take it. All right. Next up, Florida, West Virginia, back out to Portland here. Kai, both these teams want to get this because they currently don't have a good win in Portland. They both knocked off Oregon State and Portland State respectively in the last round. How do you see this one playing out? Obviously, Florida has to handle the pressure the West Virginia is bringing this year.
Gators should win. This is a game they should handle. It's funny that Eric Stevenson is like the number one guy on the scouting report. He's playing really well. But I think that's still bad news for West Virginia. And West Virginia has no answer for Colin Castleton inside. I love Bob Huggins. I'm sure he'll come out with a good game plan. But Florida's way more talented. I'm not super worried about Kyle Lofton going against this pressure. He's about as steady as they come. And Florida's got a couple guys in Will Richard and the other guy was playing really well for them. Kugel.
Trey Bonham
played really well a couple of games ago. Bonham did as well. Yeah. 19, 20 points last couple of games. He's been impressive. I think Florida gets this win, man. The Xavier result, Matt, was misleading. That game was neck and neck the whole way. Florida missed a dunk 3, missed layup 3. It was kind of the end of the game. So I like Florida here.
Yeah, I'm confused why I haven't bet this yet. I'm just staring at the line right now. Maybe I'll do that after the show. Yeah, I like Florida. I think
love Bob Huggins. That's why.
I know. That's probably right, too. And I think this team, outside of the Eric Stevenson weirdness, is constructed pretty well. I think he's found a good gem in Joe Toussaint. We loved him in Iowa. He was a little bit erratic, but I think he's kind of found a stabilizing place there under the tutelage of Mr. Huggins. The size up front's still real. I know Trey Mitchell isn't like the most physically imposing bruiser, but he's a big guy and he can score. Jimmy Bell, the sneaky's transfer from SLU. So it kind of has that feel of the old physical Huggins teams up front. Not that Florida's soft up front, but I do think that kind of plays well into how Huggins coaches well. So I don't know. That's why I stayed away. I think Florida's the right side here, though.
The Stevenson thing is so weird. Last year, he was 60 of 61 from the free throw line, 98%. He's already missed 5 this year, but he's up like 10% from 3. I don't understand.
Weird.
It's not going to last. He's too erratic for that to stay sustainable. Yeah, I like Florida too. I think they should be favored. They flipped kind of over to a favorite or -1 at BetRivers right now. I'm taking the Gators. I think they get the big win. I'm just still not sold on this West Virginia team fitting the way Bob Huggins wants to play and attitude-wise being Bob Huggins guys. I don't know that they are. All right, next up, Matt, you mentioned SLU. Jimmy Bell was there before going the JUCO route. They are now on the road at Auburn, a team that has been dominant at home. Matt, last 30 games for Auburn at home, 18-9 and 3 pushes against the spread. So basically a 67% cover rate. It's pretty darn good. But most of the times they're dominating bad competition. SLU is actually really legitimate. These two played last year at St. Louis. St. Louis kind of blew it. Probably hurt their tournament chances a little bit. So maybe there's some revenge factor for a team that brings back a ton. Do you think the Bills can keep it inside the numbers? 6.5 at BetRivers last I saw.
Yeah, I do. And I think the line's too high. I think if you're looking to bet SLU, you should go ahead and do it. I just have been burned by fading home Auburn a few too many times in my not so illustrious handicapping career. So I stayed away. I'm trying to respect the home juice of Auburn there. But SLU with a little bit of revenge factor, right? Got beat at home by Auburn last year. Now they go on the road. I think that plays well in their favor today. Kai, I think you have a stronger take on this game than I do.
Yeah, I took SLU. I am scared of home Auburn, absolutely. But Auburn's looked kind of shaky this year. They haven't looked all the way there. Now, Broom being in and out of the lineup is definitely part of that. And I'm sure, I think he's playing tonight or today. But SLU's really good. They're top 25 good. And man, do they need this win. After that blowout loss to Maryland, they're kind of in search of another key non-conference victory to get that at-large bid, especially with the A-10 kind of falling down the toilet right now. I think 6.5 is a little bit too much. So I went with a little bit of SLU.
I thought it was a little bit high too. Auburn has not been that good. Like despite some of the home routes that they've had. Look at that Northwestern game, one of the ugliest games of the season. And I think that kind of shows that they can't punish SLU's defense the way Maryland did. Like Maryland had 4 or 5 shooters on the floor, knocked down shots like crazy. I don't fear Auburn doing that as much unless Wendell Green is like in fuego from outside, which is possible when he's playing in front of that crowd. But felt a little high for me. I ended up sitting out of fear of the Auburn home crowd, I guess, crowd factor. But I think SLU is closer to even with them than this line indicates. All right, last one on the outline, guys. It is in Orlando, but it is not the Advocare ESPN Events Pyramid Scheme Invitational. Miami, Florida at UCF. Matthew, the ACC needs to get some more wins in the non-conference here. It has been a struggle for them, taking a lot of bad L's and been not good on neutral sites against other power conference foes. So now we see Miami against UCF, a team has been dominant defensively so far this year. Do you think their size bothers O'Meara inside, or do you think Miami's guards can just dominate getting into the paint off the bounce here?
I had a strong gut lean to UCF. I just have this burning memory in my brain of betting Miami confidently last year and UCF just steamrolling them. and that bothered me. And I've watched this UCF team a little bit this season. It was a reminder of like, it's super talented still. And Taylor Hendricks is an absolute freak. And I don't know how this guy doesn't end up in the lottery. He's like the most skilled freshman I've seen all year, save a few of the top upper echelon 5-stars. He's that good. You look at that roster, Kai. I mean, if Theo Horton, like guy we liked last year, right? Suggs, CJ Kelly. I mean, it's a solid veteran, respectable roster. I know it's a whole new team, but they look like they're a more cohesive unit. At least they've expedited that process faster than I would have thought. I like them today. Gut just screams UCF to me.
My gut's with you, Matt. Miami hasn't been that impressive this year, and UCF definitely has. Their defense has been really good as well. I lean towards their way here, man. I think they can get this win. And the ACC has been garbage. I know I just said I took UNC for this much, but overall, top to bottom, the ACC has been brutal this year. So I'm going to keep fading that.
My gut was Miami, guys. So maybe I've got a really out of sync gut that I shouldn't listen to. UCF, this is kind of like the Quinnipiac thing. Like no one's made a three against them. They're shooting like 25%. They've really, really benefited from that. I think they're fairly long in the perimeter, but it's not like their backcourt is huge, swarming. Like I think Wong and Nigel Pack can have big days here. And Matt, your boy, Jordan Miller, might have room to operate. We don't know what CJ Walker's status is for UCF. Michael Durr got hurt. I don't know if he's going to be out there, which takes away some of their size. I think Miami can get a little bit of revenge for last year, but I don't like going against my two cohorts' guts here. That scares me. All right, let's get into the second chat mob section before we wrap it up with best bets, although I think we've revealed two of the four that we'll have. Matt, what do we got in the chat mob?
Ethan Wright asking why Montana is catching points at Air Force. Man, Montana is, I don't know, maybe my least trustworthy team in the country. Yeah, I wouldn't touch that game.
They apparently had the flu, and Jordan Majeski's been beating the drum for how important this Corbin Green guy has been, freshman for Air Force. Last two games averaging 15 and 8. He just debuted. He seems like he's a legitimate piece.
Legit, yeah.
Montana scares me. Yeah.
Kai, Matthew Akers, twofer, Monmouth versus Lehigh and Vermont versus the Beach. Interesting twofer here. Both featuring teams that are kind of on a sharp decline right now. Monmouth is like a holy cow tailspin. Vermont,
yeah.
What's going on with Vermont?
They're just not that good. They're scrappy, but
man, I don't know if I buy that, but
the loss to Wilmington was tough. I've been fading Vermont a lot this year. I'm surprised I was on them yesterday, and of course it didn't work out. Lehigh, I cannot believe they're laying this many points to anybody. But Monmouth has been terrible, like bottom 20 bad. Both games are huge stayaways for me. No thanks.
For Vermont's two of their last three second halves have been like 47-14. Yeah. They lost the second half to Yale. Yeah. Completely collapsed against Wilmington too. Like there's something wrong with that team. I don't trust them.
I got a sense they're just sick of this gruesome travel, the non-con. I think they're just maybe a little bit jet lagged and kind of looking forward to conference season, which really is all that matters to them. Let's be honest. But I don't know. That could be just a stupid, sour excuse.
Smashed by their results aren't very good.
I know they've been not competitive to the point where it's clearly something deeper than that. Jim Durko asked about Bobby Moe, the Colonials, catching a touchdown and a hook against South Bama. Thought it was high, but I'm an Andrew Toole guy, and I like that team a little more than most people do.
I was on Bobby Moe yesterday. They were up like 12 at halftime and scored, I think, like 14 points in the second half to collapse and lose. Ended up losing in overtime. Disappointing them. That said, I think it is a little high, but South Alabama is super talented. Elijah Moore, the D2 transfer from Franklin Pierce, is like a dominant force, averaging like 20 and 7 for them at point guard. So I didn't bet this. I'm not ready to fade South Alabama. I just think they're super talented.
Yeah, they are not super deep, but they are super talented. Just think that depth does matter in this MT situation. But
Isaiah Moore, not Elijah Moore. Sorry,
Isaiah Moore. That's right. Kai, Nick Shereen, 2 questions: Florida State, Nebraska under. Kind of a niche question there. And then Fullerton, North Dakota. I have a strong gut lean in agreement with the under for Nebraska with Derek Walker back. Yeah. And Fullerton should beat North Dakota by 20, right? Or is North Dakota not as bad as we thought?
No, North Dakota's terrible, but they were scrappy. They pulled a win off against someone the other day. I didn't bet them. I should have.
But I passed on it. Utah Tech.
I kind of lean not that good. I kind of lean Florida State plus 2.5. I did not take it because I don't trust them. The under, yeah, that's a good lean. Nebraska's playing a lot slower this year, like a lot slower. I think they're 6-0 to the under this season, or 5-0, whatever how many games they've played. I don't know why Hoiberg's doing that. Maybe he's trying to get a little smarter with his coaching. But neither teams really look good. I think Florida State eventually gets back to it a little bit, but can't trust them right now.
My under theory there is that they have like a 6'6" point guard, Griesel, who's not really like a speedy guy. So they're kind of playing more half court. But Matt, they got Derek Walker back. I think that could be huge.
Yes, I agree. I think he's absolutely massive. They have no inside presence without him. Kai, second theory on that, or Jim, I'm not who's just shared that theory. Fred Hoiberg in a must-win, put up or shut up year. He can't afford to play the gimmicky up and down. He has to like win at all costs. And I think kind of slowing the pace is usually in your best interest if you're outmatched talent-wise. Another one from Ken Ray. Does Portland stay hot against Michigan State? I sure hope so. One of my favorite teams to watch this year, Jim. Thought the number was a little too short, though. I believe it's sitting around 7 currently.
Here's a weird, if this was the third game back-to-back, I would have taken Portland because Michigan State has Zippo depth without Akins and Hall.
Portland has lots, yeah.
I think it helps them to have the break, but I still lean Portland. I just, this version of Michigan State, it was my guy Kai's best bet against Oregon. They were fortunate to barely cover when Dante and Biddle went out in that game. I just, with the few pieces they have left, I would lean towards Portland.
Hey, don't forget, this is at Portland, literally at Portland's gym today.
And Kai, isn't we
at the PK 85?
I was just, did we forget to mention the same dynamic for Portland State?
It's Oregon not at Portland State. No, it's not. That is at Portland.
No, sorry, the Portland State Oregon State game. Where's that one at? Is that one of the two?
It's at Portland.
So that game's at Portland. That's weird. Okay,
they're both at UP. Yeah, Chili Center.
So that is a true neutral. Okay. Anyway,
yes,
so I guess
that's a neutral. Yep.
Good. I was gonna have to buy off my game because I thought I was handicapped. But thank you for the intel. God, we're so useful.
You're welcome.
I do like Portland because of that. Yeah.
Daryl Turner, we talked about Air Force Montana. He also asked about UTSA, the Roadrunners, a team I cannot figure out for the life of me. Kai, do you have any take on this squad? Who are they playing?
Nope, absolutely not. No take. Pacific time zone sucks, by the way. I hate this time zone.
Jim, the Fighting Michael Lewis's, aka the Fighting Matt Cox's spirit animals, the Ball State Cardinals, got it done yesterday. They're playing on Timmy Miles, who continues to outpace expectations. He has San Jose State playing at a level we've never seen from that program. I should take Ball State, but I respect and also fear Tim Miles, so I did not.
You hate my best bets, Matthew, but
I do.
My other best bet here is the under. I think San Jose State is obviously playing mega slow under Miles, and Ball State wants to play that way under Michael Lewis. The guy that's been under Cronin and Bobby Knight, like he is very much a half court execute motion type guy. Both teams, I think, are pretty strong in the paint, so there's a little bit of a brawl going on there. Third game in 3 days. I don't think they'll want to play super fast no matter what. So under 138, second best bet here for Ball State and San Jose State.
Love it. At the Horn, Maine. Did we care about Maine?
Maine is good.
Yeah, Maine's solid. The number felt short, but Brown sucks. Maine's solid. So no thanks.
All right. I like that.
Slightly towards the over, but Maine might end up having some shooting regression. They're shooting above 40% from 3 or right on it. That's probably not sustainable.
All right, that's it. Good note to close on. Bangs gavel. Best bets. And it's me. I'll start us off. As I said earlier, Land Shark again. The Rebs over the Sooners. I would take anything at 2 or higher. I just think they're the better team, and you're getting 2 or 3 bonus points.
There you go.
Was it plus 3?
Yeah, plus 3 at the time.
Officially,
yeah, plus 3
per BetRivers. Kai, what do you got?
Villanova -3 is my best bet. Oregon, obviously everyone knows about the guards, but N'Faly Dante maybe being out today. Concussion protocol in college basketball, that sounds like he's going to be out. If he's out, Oregon is in deep, deep trouble. He is their best player. They have no backcourt. And even though Villanova hasn't looked very good this year, him being out of lineup basically negates Oregon's only true dominant advantage against them, which was playing inside. I don't think Ware can really do much. He'll get a couple rebounds, but not too worried about him. So Villanova -3 is my best bet, fading the injured Ducks.
Love that. Yeah, if Dante's not in, I mean, I kind of liked Villanova, even thinking he might play, but concussion protocol. Note of a point of note: Ball State totals down to 134. I was saying the pre-show number, so best bet is at 134. Unfortunately, lost 4 points of value, but hey, I appreciate you keeping us honest. That truly was the number pre-show, but it happens. You lose a couple points. And then my other best bet was Hofstra at -3.5 over Quinnipiac. That's what I got today.
Hey, take the first half under. Just hedge yourself there, Jim. I like doing that. If you lose some under value, take the first half under.
It's not so bad. All right, that wraps up the show for today. Enjoy the Sunday. A lot of great games. Tune into those final PK 85 ones. Look for Kai on camera. He'll probably run out there streaking at some point because he just and it's going to say I love awesome. Pacific time zone across his chest.
I was not aware you're doing that. That's great. Yeah. That's awesome.
But all right, thank you everybody. We'll be back on Tuesday. Very light slate tomorrow on Monday, so we're taking that off. Back Tuesday, normal time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central. We'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.